Right, so we're going to talk shit, but in a different way than we normally do. So, bowel screening, right? So we'll get to a certain age and we get this thing come through in the post. We're like, what on earth do we do with this? As you were saying earlier, how am I going to get that in that bag?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So, why do we do bowel screening, Steve?
It is one of the biggest killers in Wales. 900 people a year die of bowel cancer. And your best chance of getting a curative treatment for bowel cancer is catching the cancer early enough, like all cancers. It's no different. And your best chance of having that early diagnosis is through screening. So we invite the 50 to 74-year-olds. So if you come regularly for your screening, it doesn't pick up every cancer. No test does, but you've got the best chance of being diagnosed early and having that curative treatment. So, and what the studies show, 9 out of 10 people who are caught early enough will have a curative treatment. If you present later, you've probably got a 1 in 4 chance of surviving. So there's lots of reasons to do it.
So I'm the wrong end of that scale then. So I'm 44.
It's 44, so yeah, you've got another 6 years for, because we don't screen below 50. We've only just recently gone down to 50 in the last 4 years, or last year actually we were at 50. It's still a disease of older people, but people in their 40s do get it, and 30s. It's not unknown, but because it's a disease that, like all cancer, it progresses over a period of time. The thought is, if you start screening at 50, you will pick people up at that age. Majority of people in that age group, that 50 to 74 age group, is the way we catch the most people.
So, but you don't have to wait for the screening, do you?
Oh no.
Because I know I before I hit 50, I was having some problems with my bowels. Things have changed from where they were normally. So I was much looser, much more frequent, less sort of notice. And so you can go along to GP and go, look, things have changed, I don't quite feel right, and then they could send you for that test as well. So you don't have to wait in the screening. That's right.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually. Screening is meant to be for people who haven't got symptoms. Not say if you've got symptoms you don't take part in the screen, but as Dave rightly said, if you've got symptoms, don't wait for your screening test. Go to your GP. They will give you exactly the same test, but it's a far more sensitive test. Yeah, you'll still get that test. You get a different colour top on it. That's all. The only difference is, but the analyzers for the symptomatic service are set at a much lower level, so they would pick up. But so if you've got symptoms, and they're typical like bleeding, weight loss, pain in the tummy, a lump, that type of thing, anything like that, go to your GP. Don't wait for your screening test. So screening test is mainly for people who haven't got symptoms. That's really.
And I think one of the things that's sort of driven us to have this conversation is we've got a large membership. And we've got people who've sadly lost friends and family very short notice because they've ignored those symptoms until it was too late, and then there was nothing that could be done. And one of the guys who lost a very close friend,
And he was below 50 years old.
he was younger than
My
me,
age.
and we got by the time we got diagnosed, I think he lived only for a few more weeks because he'd left it so late. And it's that embarrassment we're talking about poo and about your bowel and your habits.
And that's why I've been intrigued to know. We do know, like I said earlier, that less men come for screening than women. So as a group, excuse me, Josh, you're a different age group. As a group of men of a similar age, why do we think men don't partake in screening? What is it about the screening test that puts men off in particular?
Well, it's the fear of mirror. It's fear,
Yeah.
It's fear. And probably not being in control of it, is that, I think, for a lot of people, I would say.
I think as well, of our age, like my dad, he wouldn't go to the doctor at all. And I kind of instilled in me, you'd only go to the doctor if if your legs hanging off, manic. That's a big thing. And it's the not knowing as well, and it's scary. But yeah, if it's for years, I wouldn't go to the doctor for anything. But the older I get now, the more, what's the word?
Sensible.
Yeah, the more. Okay, we'll go with that. The more sensible I am, and I think a lot more about my kids and what would happen.
Yeah, I see your point.
If I didn't get to that.
It isn't just about yourself.
It's not just about me now. I got responsibilities. And kids now and everything, grandkids and whatever. But, it's growing up is man, I have to get on with it.
But it's
invincible.
it's interesting actually. So the relation there with us obviously talking about mental health and well-being, generally, but like it's a bit of an anchor point. So what Stuart just said there was an anchor point, but so what he said was actually it's a bit of my kids, a bit of my grandkids. So we talk about grandkids' reasons for being, right? And it's like, right, okay, that starts to then play a part. But I also think that there's sometimes we've got this thing whereby certainly with men whereby we don't want to make it about ourselves. I mean, so we'll avoid being about us, it'll be about something else or someone else. Because we don't want to put that attention on ourselves. So we're only seen as feeling guilty about actually I'm spending time investing in me, I'm going to do this for me. What we'll do is I'm doing it because of the kids and the grandkids, and that may be a legitimate reason, but we're not always as comfortable, I don't think, talking about the fact that actually I'm not going to do it for myself, because I want to be in a great place where I know actually I'm sound in my health. And I think that's the thing that certainly has been a big thing for me over the last few years is not carrying the guilt of investing in yourself. So for example, come in and go in and see in the morning on a Sunday, I'm gonna,
That's your time, yeah.
because it's my time.
Yeah.
Whereas before I won't go this week because we got to do this, and that's not being selfish. It's investing in yourself. I think, and you can apply that a lot. I think to certainly men, certainly our members, maybe not so much. You could say past a certain age, because I can't speak for everyone at a certain age. It's just about where you are, I think, at that time, and how you don't see. You always want to do something for somebody else. So it's important to invest in yourself.
Yeah. And that might, because we talked earlier to me about because what we do now, the 50-year-olds are less likely to take part again. Male and female, and it's not just men. But could that be that point, that at that age, I'm not saying you probably have got kids, may not have got grandchildren, but there's more reason as you get older, because you've got more those outside commitments you want to protect. Yeah.
I think also you start to face up to your mortality a little bit as well.
Yeah.
You know, more things start to become an issue, and therefore you go, well, actually, I need to take this a little bit more serious. I think, you know, even at this age, you still feel that a little bit invincible. Yeah, that's somewhere down the road.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
100%.
perception.
I go to more funerals now than I go to weddings.
Yeah.
Like people I went to school with.
Yeah.
It's,
But you are right. There is this perception bowel cancer, particularly, is a disease of old age. I mean, like 70s, 80s, 90s. It's very much not. Though.
But it's not a particular change in lifestyle and diet.
definitely not.
We've seen it in much younger.
Yeah.
How long do they last? You know, do they automatically screen you every certain amount of years?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years,
Yeah.
is it?
So one thing we would say, if you ever get one of these, when you get through one of these to the post, what we do get a lot of, and which again fascinates me, I guess. So obviously you can get, your partner could be in the similar age group, couldn't they? So we do get husband and wife swaps, believe it or not. So they will take the wife or the husband will take each other's kits and send them in. But these kits aren't, but your kit will be labelled to you.
Yes.
So you can, and it's on our computer and linked to you. So
Yeah.
if you did pick up your wife or partner's kit and send it in, that the result will go back to your wife or partner. It will not. So just be careful. You make sure you fill your own kit in. And those kits themselves last around 9 to 12 months. So the actual physical kit.
Yeah.
So there's a little buffer in there. The kit itself will last forever, won't it? But there's a little buffer in there. So after 9 months, we can't rely on that
Doesn't
sample.
give you an accurate sample, yeah.
So always use your most current kit, because you'll be amazed. Some people go in the drawer, put them an old kit, and send it into us, which again baffles us why you would do that. But
You don't need a lot of this, do you?
no, it is literally, it is just unscrew that, and it is that little dipstick, and you can't see it here, but there's 2 little dimples there, 2 little recesses. That's all you need is dip it in, just cover them, pop it straight back in, click the lid. One thing we will always, the only thing you have to do, you do that, but then you've got to write the data sample on. Because these kits, once you put the sample on, they're only valid for 14 days. And you'd be amazed how many people forget to put that date on. And then we reject them. You know, so we reject around 2% of our kits get rejected. So we test around 300,000. I can't do the maths off the top of my head, but you can see it's quite a lot of kits are rejected, mainly because I haven't put the test. So that's the other thing I'd be intrigued at. So as a group of men then, obviously the taking of the sample is a bit of a barrier for some people. What's our thoughts on that? it is a sample of poo. There's no other way of doing it. There's, you know, you can only do that. Would that put you off?
No.
No.
No, I don't think it would. No.
Stuff I've got away with in the past doing that is not embarrassing at all.
I've always liked that. I know not everybody's had kids, right? But if you've had kids and changed nappies,
Oh, yeah.
that's a dollar in comparison. Let's be honest. You know.
It's your own anyway. It's not like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
taking somebody else.
Absolutely. I think we've had like people, members who like fearful. They've had their tests or whatever, and I think I brought it up at one point in the thing. I said, "Well, this come guys," and I put a picture of it, you know, cat, you know, and they're like, "Oh, right, there we are, then, right, okay," and then somebody else would say, "Oh yeah, oh mine are right." Well, the other day, and then it's like, I said, "Yeah, have you done it yet?" And it, you know, it's like, "No," and we kept trying to have this conversation. But when it turned out and you had the conversation with that person, it was fear of, because he's a cancer survivor.
Yeah.
He said to me, I'm afraid of all, they might fight.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
what you said, wasn't it? It's the
fear of knowing. Yeah. You know, and I said, "What? Yeah, but what with the non-knower?" And I said, we need you around longer. So, you know, and within a couple of weeks then, I think after we eased off a little bit, there was a message came in and said, "I've done posted."
Yeah, it was in the post box. Picture of that.
Posted.
And the postage is free as well, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's no excuse.
Barriers
No,
are the
no.
thing we need in many ways.
No excuse.
My only issue was to remember to take the kit when I needed food.
Yeah.
Could be like,
Oh,
That's what I said.
the paper comes down to the kitchen. Where's that kit now?
That's what they say. As soon as you get it, you should just put it in the bathroom. They say.
Yeah,
Right.
so if you diagnose somebody positive, how does the process progress from there? Do you have to then take it on yourself, or do you?
Yeah, what you'll be told, the letter will come and they'll say you need further investigation. So what that is, all this test does is pick up elements of blood in your poo.
Yeah.
So that could be for lots of reasons.
Yes.
One of them being cancer. You know.
Yeah.
So we then refer you're then asked to contact Josh's team to make a convenient appointment for we have a nurse assessment first. And that's assessing you if you're medically fit for colonoscopy. Because not everybody is. You know, people are really frail. They can't go through the rigor of a colonoscopy. Most people do, though, go through that colonoscopy. So they have that nurse assessment first in your local hospital. And it's a telephone assessment. So they ring you and talk to you over the phone. It takes about 20 minutes. If you're deemed fit, then they will give you an appointment for a colonoscopy in your local hospital.
And what is a colonoscopy?
So what they do is a small tube, probably like for my middle finger perhaps. So it's a really small, it's a tube with a camera on, and they go through your bowel, so they can visualize your whole bowel. They can remove any polyps. They can take biopsies. So that's the colonoscopy element. So it's a hospital based, but it is takes about 40 minutes complete, and you're home that same couple of hours later. You're back in the car and you're driving home. So so it's very much an outpatient appointment. Takes less than an hour, and for most people.
350,000 roughly samples back. You get about, you say 400 new cancer
Cancers
diagnoses
a year, yeah.
So, and you got 9,000 positives.
Yeah.
So it's showing, what that's coming on is, even if it does come back positive, doesn't automatically mean
most people
it's got cancer. Vast majority will not be cancerous, but maybe other conditions. You have a colonoscopy and you can literally nip some stuff in the bud.
Yeah. What we do find, Dave, is so it's 400 cancers. So out of every 100 screening colonoscopies, about 6 will be a cancer. About 70 will have polyps removed.
Yeah.
So again, if you have a positive, it's definitely worth pursuing that positive.
Don't necessarily say about weakness, but for me sometimes I just don't want to bother anybody.
You feel like a burden, don't you?
Yeah. It's a burden. Actually, I'll probably be fine. I'm making them out now. Monkey.
It's getting past that, going, well, actually, it's so easy. It's not actually a mountain. It is just a little bit of an extra thing to do, an extra phone call, or go see a GP if you're not feeling quite right.
That's the other with being self-employed, because I'm self-employed. If I was of that age, I'd be like, I can have a day off now, they're going to do this. You don't need a day off to do it.
No, you could do that test every year, and you could get different results every year. It depends if you bleed you when you take that. that sample.
Yeah.
So obviously, don't just do one test and think, oh, I've done that test when I was 50.
Yeah,
I don't need to do it again. There's a reason why we send them out every 2 years.
Yeah.
You know. But again, the theory for ours is if you're screened regularly enough, and there are people that, for whatever reason, this test does not pick up their cancer. You know, we've got to be acknowledge that. But most people, if you're screened regularly enough, will get the results. That is the indicator of what's happening. So if you've got something going on, eventually will get picked up. If you've got nothing and you keep turning negatives, that's fine as well. You know.
Massive peace of mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose it just becomes a part of life once you get in there every 2 years, and then you just.
It's normal, yeah. And I found that myself. Once you do the first one,
Yeah, like, totally.
it's
Like you said, genuinely,
Yeah.
I looked at mine, I came through, I was like, how am I going to go in there? Literally, it was like,
but in 2 years' time, Rob, it'll be a dog when
yeah,
you know, is that-
I'm like, I know, all right.
takes the drama away from
simple
it.
man thing, not read the instructions.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, the IKEA part, the spare bits. Why
Yeah.
I'll work at it.
I want Cooley's time.
But talking about instructions, there is something we perhaps need to talk about. There is a book that comes with it. So there's an instruction sheet and there's a booklet. But that booklet tells you the information.
right.
So this is the instruction sheet, which we think we worked hard on this, put it to get this as simple as we can.
Lots of pictures.
Make it as
Visual.
visual. But there's also that instruction, that booklet as well, which tells you a bit. You know, screening is like everything. There's pros and cons with screening.
Yeah.
But this gives you that information, and it's up to you then to decide whether you want to take part really. But I would always stress people to read that because you know. Could we talk this earlier just quickly to me that for men particularly, this is the first experience they'll have a screening. This test kit.
Yeah.
So if you can raise that awareness for us before people get this kit, so we'll help as well. Maybe.